Welcome to another podcast episode. Today I'm doing a slightly different type of thing. I'm going to be going through two of my my favourite self-help and healing books. Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. This is quite a popular one. And one is called The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. I feel like a lot of people see these books, but it's a lot to get through and not everyone has the time. So I thought it'd be really good to break down my favourite or most interesting topics and talk about them, because I feel like that's a bit easier. And also these are the ones that jumped out at me. So I do recommend you actually go get the books and read them, because I'm literally just going to pick out certain quotes and even just topics and talk about them. But if you want to read what these people actually have to say, go get these books. I think this came at a place where I was in a very closed-minded, negative, victim cycle, and I was slowly, realising I'd hit rock bottom with that, and I feel like a lot of people might watch or just hear my podcast and think it's all a bit wishy-washy, it's all a bit delusional, it's all very optimistic, but there was a time I was in a very, very negative place, and I, myself, didn't think I'd get out of it, so I feel it's different for everyone, I understand that, but I really hope that someone will relate to me when I talk through these things. The first chapter that this book introduced me to was all about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is basically whatever you put out to the universe, you'll receive back. Now this might seem a little bit delusional, a little bit on the spiritual side, a little bit weird, but you've got to hear me out. Prayer is a type of law of attraction, manifestation is a law of attraction, positive affirmations is a law of attraction. There is so many different types of things amongst just general self-help, religion, spirituality, and they're all kind of lead into the same thing of law of attraction, of what you put out, you will get back. Now, I really do believe this because the more negative thinking I put out when I was in my negative rut, it just seemed to come straight back at me. And I just kept thinking, poor me, or this is a bad day, things I'm gonna get worse, things are gonna get worse, and or this is the end of the world. If I just put out all these negative, really strong statements, I really didn't see much good come back to me around those times, and I kind of would then use that and run with it and be like, see, I am a victim, see, I do just get bad things thrown at me, but I had to take some accountability at some point. And I do think if you moan a lot, if you are sad a lot, if you really speak bad, and none of this may be your fault, you may be, every day you may say something really bad about your appearance, and that's sad because maybe you struggle with body dysmorphia, or you might say really sad negative things because you actually have depression. There's all these things that you need medicate and therapy. They've come from a place that is completely valid. I'm not saying just snap out of it, it's very hard to in certain situations. But it is kind of the idea of programming, of if you look in front of a mirror every day and tell yourself you look horrible, you're going to start believing that. You're going to start thinking that. But it goes, if you start saying this is going to be a really bad day, you're setting up the day with expectations that it's going to be bad. So it's kind of like reprogramming and using law of attraction in a positive way. It's not just getting rid of that mindset, it's just shifting it to a positive way of talking. So I look good today, I feel really good, today's going to be a good day, or I'm going to pass that test, or I'm going to receive this, I'm going to get that. And it might seem a little bit like fake it till you make it to begin with, and it did for me, but I do promise you, the more you just speak positive things out loud to yourself, record it to your friends, to people, and you just make that switch from pessimistic to optimistic, and I promise you will see results. And I know that sounds crazy and whatnot, but genuinely, when I was the most pessimistic, I just got hit and bombarded with more and more bad things. As soon as I just started to try and be a bit optimistic about things, and it doesn't just change overnight, you've got to be patient with these things, but slowly and surely, the more optimistic I was, I did start to receive a lot of blessings that year. I got a lot back, and that kind of made me very grateful. And then I got into a really good positive cycle where I was speaking good things out, I received them, I was then being very thankful and grateful, and basically the cycle would go on. And I just really hope that everyone can sort of be aware, if you are in this sort of victim pessimist mode, and really do try to use things like law of attraction or positive affirmations to try and switch your thinking into a more optimistic approach. When I talk about law of attraction, a lot of people would used to argue with me and be like, oh, well, I used to like write down on paper 10 times, I'm going to pass my driving test, and I'd speak about it all the time, but I failed, it never happened. And I have to say, like, look, law of attraction isn't like necessarily things that you want. It's kind of more things you need, and that's not necessarily always what we want, unfortunately. Like, we might really want to pass our driving test in this specific year, this specific month, but there's always kind of like a hidden reason of like, maybe God or the universe can see that in 2 months you're about to lose your job, so you won't be able to afford a car, or there was going to be a really bad crash one route and you would have taken that. I feel like everyone kind of is out there to protect you, and there's a reason that those things don't happen. Same with jobs. I've personally had this. I found some really cool jobs. I thought I was genuinely going to get them to the very last minute. So excited, and then I didn't. And it's like, well, what's that about? Like, I've been manifesting, I've been praying, I've been wanting this job so badly, and it makes you angry at first. I understand that, I've been there. But clearly that was not meant for me. Clearly there was a reason. It would have set me up for failure, it would have set me up for disappointment, whatever it is. And the biggest phrase I have for this is rejection is just redirection. Do not be scared of rejection. You put out what you think you want, and roughly what you want, of like career-wise, relationship, friendship-wise. I believe, this is my personal opinion, that God has already written our stories. There's already a plan. Obviously we have free will, we can go down all these different avenues. It's a bit like a tree of life. Like, there's all these little like tiny branches that we ourselves can choose to go down, but eventually it's going to lead us to sort of this end result, this end goal that we don't really know yet. And I think by like trying to jump the wagon a bit and just focusing on that end goal is kind of setting yourself up for disappointment and failure again, because you're not enjoying the journey, you're not enjoying the ride, and you're not going to learn anything if you can just jump from stage 1 to stage like 50. Like, you're not going to learn, and you're not going to be... The one thing I learned is there were some blessings, some things I really wanted, but I myself wasn't I wasn't ready. I wasn't the version of Maisie, the version of myself that was going to receive these things. I would still receive them in the end. Like, there's certain things that have happened this year that is so good, but I really wanted them maybe 2 years ago. But that's because I had so much more to learn back then. I wasn't ready. I wasn't like the best version of myself to receive that specific thing. But the next chapter that I read in this book that stood out to me was Law of Vibration. Now, Law of Vibration, Vex has wrote like quite a lot of scientific stuff in here. So if you're like a bit like, I don't believe any of this, maybe it might be worth a read of like the specific things. I'm not going to go into all of it. But the one thing I read about this was Law of Vibration is all about environment. So when you were a kid in school, you remember probably in like physics, you learned all about atoms and how everything is made up of atoms, and vibrations can go through sort of all these atoms, and like there's different frequencies. So there's things that like dogs can hear that we can't because it's at a higher frequency. And my main thing was that you cannot create or destroy energy. It only passes on. And this is something really powerful. That's not just in physics, in physical terms. That's energy as well. Mental energy, spiritual energy, whatever you want to call it. If you are surrounding yourself by people that are vibrating on a low energy level, it will pass on to you. Have you seen the diagram of the strawberries where one's mouldy, one's not, but it's starting to get mouldy because it's been banded together with the other mouldy strawberry? It's very true to be very picky and careful with who and what you surround yourself with, because energy is real. Law of vibration is this idea of you want to vibrate at a high frequency, but if you are surrounded by those of low, it can definitely alter yours. And it's not just people and energy, it's scientifically like food. Fast processed food, we have some really bad like food standards at the moment, and there is such low energy in those foods, in those atoms that we consume every day. Same with media as well. The media we consume, if you wake up every day and just watch negative news every morning, that is setting up your day to have a low vibration. Now, vibration, it might sound, you don't have to believe in this entirely, like the whole law of vibration, but just the idea of be careful what and who you surround yourself with, and trying to make sure everything you do and everyone you're with is always trying to keep you positive and upbeat. I'm aware we can't always be positive and optimistic. There's going to be down days. Your friend's going to have a down day. It's very unrealistic to try and vibrate high 24/7, but just to keep it aware that like oh, okay, I'm kind of been hanging around with some people that haven't been making me feel good. I've also been eating bad. I've also just been on my phone scrolling. Like, I've not been doing any high vibrational activities or exercises. So just trying to make sure that you're aware of that is key. Something else in this book is talking about gratitude. Now, I think gratitude, it seems so simple, but it's something that you have to remind yourself with every few months. And I think this is the bit that really changed my journey. I think this bit really sort of saved me, because it's so hard when you're in this victim mode to get out of it. You can't just start thinking positive one day and it helps. I think the only thing that helped me to switch to this positive, optimistic thinking was the idea of gratitude, was the idea of finding a vacation in every day. I might not be having major good things happening for me right now, but I can guarantee that there was something in my day or your day that was good. You had a roof over your head, you got a cup of coffee, you walked your pet, you met a friend, you watched your favourite TV show, you completed a task. It can be literally anything, but if something good happened that day, is the idea of stop and process that, write it down, speak it out loud. Just be aware that good things, even though small, are happening. And the more you pick up on these tiny little things, and the more grateful you express your gratitude to people around you, to yourself, to God, to whoever, the more you express gratitude, the more good things will come. Again, it's a very transactional source of energy, I believe, of the more I look around and go, wow, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful for this, I feel so blessed, I'm so happy, that is setting my vibration very high, and it's allowing room for more good things to come in. But if I'm very closed, shut in a box, hiding from the world, being this is bad, this is shit, this is this is that, I'm not allowing any optimism, any room for cool, nice new things, because I've got my head in the sand. I'm not looking for it. It's if someone says, take me into a room and says, okay, now make a note of every red thing you see in this room. And okay, cool, I do. And they take me out of the room and they ask me, well, how many blue things did you see? And I'm going to say, well, I don't know, because I wasn't looking for the blue. I was just focused on the red. It's the same thing. If you go around your life and you're looking for the negative, you're looking for something to take and be poor me, this happened today, and this was so shit, and this was so shit, you'll have no room to look for any of the good. So that's the switch you got to do. And the only way I think that kind of helped me, the only way that was possible, is to be grateful. So instead of being sort of this optimist, that was good, just because I need to say that, it was more, what am I happy for? What am I grateful for? What do others not have that I did today that's really lucky of me? I'm lucky. That's the affirmation I would tell myself. And genuinely each day, even if I have a boring day, I'm get my cup of coffee and I'm very happy, and that's my thing. And if there isn't good things happening, you are the author of your own life, so start making good things happen. That's tiny little things, having a better night routine, getting yourself a coffee, saving some of your money so you can treat yourself here and there. Do something each day that's going to make you happy. If you can't already find it, which you should be able to, a walk and seeing the birds, that's free, that's there. But if that's not good enough, then start putting some money in, start doing something for yourself to then be grateful for. And I think it just gets the ball rolling, and it's basically reprogramming. The more you do it, the more it just becomes your first port of call, your first way of thinking. It's like learning a language. If you learn Spanish first, then English, Spanish is going to come more fluent to you than English, say. So if you can try and reprogram your brain to see the positive first and the gratitude first before the negative, you're going to have a better life, and it's going to keep going and rolling and rolling and rolling. And sometimes I get stuck, sometimes I get very negative again, head in the sand. Takes me a few weeks, but I always get back on the grind, because I have to remind myself of this type of programming and this type of activity of expressing gratitude. The one thing that was really hard to be grateful for was letting people sort of come in and out of my life. I was someone that held on to people that I loved very closely, and I don't like change. So I don't like when my dynamic and my structure is when it goes crazy and wrong. But the best thing I'm very grateful for is the lesson of letting people and things flow. Chapters. This is the main thing I learned. Being okay with realising that every person and everything is a chapter in your life. Not many things are actually that permanent. Not many friends are going to stick around forever. Not many relationships are actually going to work and stick. Not many jobs. everything can change in a matter of seconds, and it's basically being okay with letting that happen. When you've fallen out with a friend and there's no coming back from it, or you've moved away, it's just being grateful of like, I'm happy I had that friend, I'm happy we had these memories and she taught me this, and now I'm okay to let her go, to make room for someone else. Same with relationships. That was a good relationship, there was ups, there was downs. I've learnt my lessons. I know what I don't like and what's not going to happen again, but I learnt what I do like, and the chapter's done now and nothing can stay forever. Obviously we do hope that these things last a long time, and it is very upsetting when there's a major change into your life, but becoming in this like flow state of mind where you're okay with letting people come in and out and just enjoying the time you have with people, that's very good. I started to learn this kind of young. When I started to lose a few people, I was like, damn, that's not what I wanted. But again, as I say, like, there is a path written for me, and it might be I really wanted all these people in my life, but the bigger picture knows that these people didn't align with me, or weren't going to better me, or I wasn't going to better them. We were clashing. We weren't supposed to be in each other's life more than that chapter, and that's okay. I think where this ideology really confirmed for me is actually through the idea of death and grief, and it's really weird where like I lost my family dog and a puppy in like 2 years, around the same time I lost a very long time relationship, friends, and it just seemed like I was losing a lot of like my solid, what I wanted to keep a hold of at once. And I think the grief from the dogs really confirmed like it was so hard and made no sense, and I had a lot of anger. But at the end of the day, I can be grateful that I had time with those dogs, and I am grateful for the lesson of really being okay with letting things come and go, because nothing in the last 2 to 3 years has been permanent for me. So I'm very used to things coming in and out now. But that brings me some level of peace, and I know that that can go too far another way, which is probably where I'm heading. But it was just nice to go from, I was so anxiously attached to everyone in my life that when anyone left, it was like the worst feeling in the world, to now being so okay and so peaceful with it, and really enjoying my friendships and relationships I have. Like, I enjoy them more now. I'm so much more present, rather than like waiting for it to end or looking for what's to come. Like, I'm just enjoying it, and if it ends, it ends, and that's a good place to be. It takes a lot of practice, and you'll trip up every now and then, but that's another thing of being grateful, of letting people leave if they weren't meant to align with you, or letting them leave if the chapter ended, letting someone new come in, make room for new people. You've got so much to learn from the world. It's not just you and your small group of friends. You need to learn from new friends, from new countries, from new areas. There is so much. Be a sponge. You want to absorb everything, and if you're keeping the same 6 people forever, well, you're never going to evolve. Okay, so another one that I learnt here is there's a chapter called Study Your Emotions. This one's really good. I've done a lot of podcast episodes about this in more detail, so I'm going to try and summarise this, but this is what really helped my healing journey proper kickstart, of being aware of my emotions. Where do they come from? Why am I this way? What don't I like from people? What do people not like from me? And this is a hard sort of activity to do, because it means you have to be open to criticism. You've got to ask your family and friends, what are your bad habits? What do people not like about you? You've yourself got to ask, what don't you like about yourself? You're going to have to go so deep and so dark that it is probably the hardest thing to do. And a lot of people don't want to open that can of worms, so they don't. But the way to truly understand why you are the way you are, why you get upset by certain things, why you get triggered by certain things, why you trigger others, it's so important to do, or you're not really going to do this healing journey. All your things are valid. The reason you are the way you are is probably a byproduct of the way you were brought up, even down to how maybe traumatic your birth was, to having key characters in your life that have moulded you and made you the way you are. As an adult though, we need to validate, we need to forgive, we need to like give ourselves some self-love for going through all of that. But then it's time to take accountability, not use that and run with it, of like, this happened to me when I was sick, so I'm this way forever. If you're hurting other people and yourself, it's the accountability of being like, this happened, that wasn't fair, I didn't deserve it, but I've got to change and sort that out, because I don't want to hurt others. The hurt becomes the hurter, and it's so key. And I've probably been there, done that. It's so important to be like, okay, I have an anxious attachment style, I have an abandonment attachment style. avoidant attachment style because my parents left, my parents weren't there, my parents did this, or because this person in my life made me view life on this, or this early relationship changed my thought process to this, and just really going through all the key moments in your life and understanding why you are the way you are. And sometimes that's hard to do without looking at specific arguments, specific situations. So maybe wait for the next sort of argument where you get really triggered and realise, why did you get so triggered? It wasn't just the surface level of what you were arguing about. What is the root issue? Why did it really upset you? And how did you respond? Did you get upset? Did you get angry? And that's something to uncover in itself, of what feels more familiar, being emotional, being angry. Like, they're all things that's very fascinating to uncover. And also you'll start doing it to the people around you, and you will become more empathetic and understanding. And that can be annoying sometimes, but it does make you look like they grew up this way, that's why they're kind of like this, and etc. So being aware, super aware, means you'll be open to criticism going forward. You won't take anything personally. You won't get triggered and upset when people have things to suggest to you and criticise you. And I'm not there yet. There's still things people say that will hit a nerve, and I'll be like, ouch. So trying to be the one, though, that's super aware, you've done the work, you've kind of found all these hidden corners, just makes you feel a little bit more in control. And when people do have things to say, you can take it on board instead of getting defensive. Something for me as well of like studying your emotions is just like setting yourself little stupid goals. Like, if you know that you get angry first, which is me, if someone like triggers me, I get angry instantly. I know I'm someone that needs to take a breath, take a minute. I have to write things down, probably 4 times, to like get rid of all the waffle and find what is my key points. Why am I triggered? What's going on? Most of the time I'm triggered because of like my own mental health, my own upbringing, my own triggers. It's nothing to do with what the person's done. And luckily, if I've not argued back yet, I can settle that myself. Whereas if I'd exploded with anger straight away, then I would have got myself in a situation where I might have had to now apologise, because actually if we really whittle it down, the person didn't do anything that bad. But then it can be the other way where, actually, no, I'm really upset by what that person's done. Why? Let's get some key points so you can communicate effectively and not get caught in all your waffle, or not get like tripped out by a gaslighter or a manipulator. Really like take time to analyse why you're upset in situations. I know you don't always have the time, but when you do, do it. I had a 48-hour rule where I would wait 2 days to write things down, to voice record, to speak out loud. If I could see a therapist, I would, to really talk over a situation I wasn't feeling good about before I then communicated it or brought it up. And that saved me so many issues where it wasn't that deep, it was my triggers, or it helped me just process how to really go in and make my boundaries clear. Just a quick one, I'm getting to the end of this book now, but there's a bit about habits. Just something I want to say is it takes 28 days to form a habit. So if you want to start incorporating little nice small routines into your life, I would do so. I'm trying to do it by getting off my phone less, I'm trying to eat better, I'm trying to walk more. They're my 3 things. Don't set yourself unrealistic goals or expectations, because it's very hard to reach them. It seems like a big climb and you're more likely to give up and get demotivated again. If you can set yourself very small minor goals, it's easy to achieve them. You'll receive the dopamine easier, and then it will kickstart your brain because you'll then be craving more dopamine, so more goals to attain. I personally find it very hard to tick off my goals without visualising them. So the big ones I like to put on Pinterest, even like a monthly goal, I try and visualise with all different photos. I have to do a to-do list every day just to make my brain work in the sense of things like this. And try not to get so caught up on the big goals. Big goals take time. Try not to set yourself up for failure. Start small, have big goals, but start small to make yourself feel like you can do things and you're getting somewhere. And do not compare. Do not compare, because even though there's certain people that have reached the same goal in life, they've had completely different upbringings, they're completely different people, meaning they're like tree of life, all these different branches have been completely different to get to the same career or the same goal that they want. You can't compare, because no one's life is the exact same. Everyone says something slightly different, either benefiting them or disadvantaging them. It is just, unless you had a clone of yourself, you cannot compare. You can get inspired by people, of course, but never tear anyone else down, and never compare and make yourself feel bad. Just keep going with what you've been given. Faith versus fear is a very good one. This one says, no matter how much you worry, your problem isn't going to improve. Be wise with your attention and energy. You can only step up in the world once you put your anxieties, fears, and worries under your feet. Faith is an active choice we make to stay optimistic. It can be extremely demanding to show faith in your goals at times. Fear will creep in and deceive you. It will steer you away from all the greatness you're due to be blessed with. Faith is something I have massively in religion and just in myself. I have faith, I know things are going to happen. Here and there, fear will try and creep in and knock me off that wagon. It will try and make me doubt myself. Trying to view them as entities of this is faith, this is fear, and fear is like a little devil and you can just kick him anytime he kicks him is so good. You've not just done this whole healing journey and made yourself feel good for fear to come in and knock you off. Keep having faith in yourself. The last thing I want to talk about with this book is your higher purpose. This is something that meant a lot to me. I really did all this healing journey and I tried so hard, and at the end of the day I just didn't have the energy. It's almost like I couldn't be bothered to put in this energy for myself. I would have done it for my friends, I would have done it for anyone else, but I didn't really have the self-love for myself to be like, why am I bothering? Why am I putting so much effort into this? But I realised that it's not actually all about me. And that sounds weird. Of course, have self-love, enjoy your day-to-day life. But your higher purpose is most likely for other people. I was quite restrictive. And I've met friends that have taught me how to be more fun and free. And everyone is here to benefit each other. It's not just all about you. You're here for others. I've got a post on this actually that I want to read out. Okay, I have a post on Hill and Maisie saying, what is your purpose? It could be to bring joy, to spread love, to heal others, to support, to create, to protect, to explore, to invent, to live, to teach, to educate, to inform. It can be any of those things. You could be here to teach. You could be here to heal others. You could just be here to heal yourself. You could be here to teach people freedom, love, joy, to invent something new, to explore a certain country. There are so many reasons and purposes that you are here for yourself and others. So don't forget that. And that is everything from this book. I think it's a very good start for healing, a start to switch certain mentalities, new programming, understanding why you're the way you are, and starting to get some good habits under your belt and understanding that you're in control, you know what you're doing now.